So chapter 13, the slumber party. It's finally over. You see, all the girls ended up being friends again, and I think they learned a very important lesson to really be a lot kinder to one another and forget about the silly things that make people have arguments. We're going to start chapter 14, but before I start chapter 14, I want you to take a look at this page over here that you have in your homework folder. It's page 34, and it's the same kind of problem sheet that we've been working on, but if you notice at the bottom, we have the words scared, happy, and content. I don't want you to fill this out just yet, because I would like you to first listen to chapter 14, 15, and 16, and then we're going to go back to this page. I want you to remember, as we're listening and reading chapter 14, 15, and 16, to really think seriously about the different problems that Sheila and the other characters are going to be involved in. You'll have an opportunity to go back to this page and fill it in properly. In chapter 14, you're going to notice that it's getting to the end of the summer and camp is finished. And as one of the closing activities, the camp organized something that they call a hayride. A hayride is basically a caleche ride where the kids sit on a caleche and the horses pull them around maybe a farm or some other place, a field of some sort. We'll read the chapter and find out exactly where the hayride takes them. And if Libby is frightened, I'm wondering about that myself, actually. I bet Libby's afraid of horses or some craziness like that. Libby is in love for a change. This time he is 14, and he shows the movies at camp. His name is Hank Crane. I wonder if he is related to Ichabod. Ichabod Crane, boys and girls, is from that book that the author Irving Washington wrote about the headless horseman, Ichabod Crane. I asked Libby about that, but all she said was, "Sheila, you are very weird. On rainy days, we see old movies at camp. Last week it rained, and me and Mouse watched Libby instead of the movie. She sat right up close to Hank, and we're not sure, but we think they kissed a couple of times. I would love to tell my mother, but I'm afraid Libby would get me. She might even let Jennifer loose or something." When it isn't raining, Hank is busy with his video camera. He is making an original film of us at our activities. One day he spent a lot of time at pottery. He asked me to do some silly things, like putting clay on my head while I pretended to be the pottery wheel. Naturally, I refused, so he got Russ to do it. I can't imagine what Hank's film is going to be like. I have the feeling I will never find out because I don't think it will ever be finished. Libby says that Hank is very talented, which is more important than being good-looking. Even Marianne Markman likes him. I think he is really dumb to pick Libby instead of Marianne. Next week is our last week of camp. When it is over, Marty says I have to take my swimming test. I know I will drown if he makes me swim across the pool. Then everyone will be sorry they forced me to learn to swim. Mouse and the twins don't bother swimming regular anymore. They are too busy doing handstands and somersaults under the water. I will never be able to do tricks. I think I would be better off just staying far, far away from oceans, lakes, and pools for the rest of my life. On Friday night, we are going on a hayride. Everyone from camp is invited. We are dividing up into two groups since we can't all fit into one wagon. Libby is very happy about this because she doesn't want to be in the same wagon as me. And I know why. I'm wondering why that is. What are you thinking? Are you thinking that maybe Libby doesn't want Sheila to see her and Hank together? I bet you that's it. She wants to be alone with Hank Crane. Well, I don't care. Who wants to waste a good hayride looking at Libby? I have never been on a hayride anyway. Mouse hasn't either, but she says we have lots of fun. Libby spent all Friday afternoon getting beautiful. She even put on clean jeans and cut her toenails. Mr. Ellis called us at 8:30 and dropped us off at camp. The wagons were already there, and kids were piling in. We were supposed to divide up by age, so Libby didn't have to worry after all. Denise was in charge of our wagon. One thing that surprised me was the horses. I didn't know they were going to pull our wagon. I thought it would be attached to a car. I am not too crazy about horses. Suppose they jump up in the air and we fall out of the wagon, or worse yet, they could go wild and pull us into the woods. As I was thinking about whether or not I should really go, Mouse said, "Come on, Sheila. Let's get a good place up front." Up front means near the horses, I found out. "I don't think this is the best place to sit," I said. "Let's get more in the middle." "No, no," Mouse said. "You have the best fun up here." "How do you know? You've never been on a hayride. You said so yourself." "My mother told me," Mouse said. "Oh, how many hayrides has she been on?" "In the olden days, when she was a girl, she went on lots of them." "Oh. The first thing I found out was hay isn't soft like I thought it would be. It is kind of sharp, and it makes some people sneeze." Sam Sweeney started sneezing as soon as he sat down. Our hayride began at 9, but then it was dark. Libby's wagon went first, and ours followed. Denise brought along her guitar, and we started singing right away. She played Anne Boleyn's song first to get us in the mood. After a while, she said she would tell us a ghost story. I don't like ghost stories, so I decided not to listen. I can do that if I really concentrate, but it isn't easy. I have to think of other things the whole time the person is talking. I do it in school sometimes if the lesson gets boring, but it's harder to do on a hayride than in school. Boys and girls, if we look at the sheet over here, are you starting to see what one of the first problems is going to be? If I were doing this right now, I'd probably say that the problem is going to be the hayride. Something's going to happen on the hayride. But of course, we're going to have to read to find out more. So, here we have Sheila remembering that she doesn't like ghost stories, and she has to concentrate to not hear the ghost story at all. Have you ever done that? Have you ever really concentrated on something else so you didn't have to listen to someone? Well, I certainly hope you never do that when I'm talking. That would make me sad. But we turned off the main road and onto an old bumpy one. There were no streetlights and it was very dark. There wasn't any moon in the sky, and I was glad, especially that there wasn't a full moon, because werewolves only come out when the moon is full. Not that there's really any such thing as werewolves. I know there isn't, but still it was better that there was no moon. Moose leaned close and whispered, "This is old Sleepy Hollow Road, the one where Ichabod Crane saw the headless horseman." "It is?" I asked. "Yes, and see up there? That's the little church with the graveyard behind it. That's where the horseman comes from." Denise finished her song. It was very quiet, except for Sam's sneezes. There were a lot of giggles. I think everybody was a little bit scared. I pretended we weren't on old Sleepy Hollow Road. I wished I was home in my bed with the covers over my ear. I don't know why I ever came on this hayride in the first place. As we got closer to the church, I heard the noise. It couldn't possibly be, could it? There isn't any such thing as a headless horseman. I know that. The next time I heard the noise, there was a flash in the sky. Oh, no! It was thundering! We were going to have a storm, and here I am, out in the open, I thought. Out in the dumb old hay wagon. The lightning will probably scare the horses, and they'll run wild right into the woods, where the headless horseman will be waiting. My heart started beating like mad, and it was full of sweat. I couldn't stand it any more. The only thing to do was bury myself under the hay. Then I'd be safe. Safe from the lightning and the horses running wild and the terrible, dark woods and the horsemen. Sheila, what are you doing? Mouse asked. Sheila, come out of there. Are you crazy or something? She tried to dig me out of the hay, but I wouldn't let her. Why should I come out? Let Mouse and the others get struck by lightning. Let them fall out of the wagon when the horses run wild. Let them get lost in the woods with the headless horseman. Denise! I heard Mouse call. Denise, help me! Sheila's under the hay and she won't come out. I kicked my legs at her. They weren't going to get me out. Oh, no! I was staying buried until I was home, where I was safe. But Denise is much bigger than me, and stronger, too. Sheila Tubman, she said, pulling me out. What do you think you're doing? It's going to rain, I told her. I'm just getting ready for it. I don't want to get wet like the rest of you, so just leave me alone. I like it under the hay. You're really funny, Mouse said. No, I'm not, I told her. I'm interesting, that's all. You can say that again, Mouse laughed. Anyway, Denise said, I don't think it's going to rain. The storm seems to have passed. She points to the sky. You see, the moon's out over there. I looked up and saw that she was right. There was a big full moon. I kept my eyes shut for the rest of the ride. I wasn't taking any chances. If a werewolf ran out of the woods, I wasn't going to be the one to see him. Finally, we made it back to camp. I was never so happy to see Daddy in my life. How was it? He asked. Did you have lots of fun? Mouse answered. She said, it was great fun, Mr. Tubman, just great. Wasn't it, Sheila? I tried to smile. Oh, sure, I said. Great. Now that I have been on one hayride, I don't think I will ever be in a hurry to go on another. That's the end of this chapter. So what was the problem? What was the problem? The problem was that Sheila was petrified of thunderstorms. She didn't like hay, and she was afraid a werewolf was going to attack her. So boy, oh boy, you've got a lot of problems to choose when you fill out this, and that's only from one chapter. My goodness. In this chapter, certainly, Sheila was very scared. She wasn't happy. She wasn't content. No, not at all. A content person would be happy and not scared. So, we're still not going to fill this out because there's certainly going to be more problems in the next chapter. Let's wait and find out. See you in a bit. Bye.